This is the Nebra Sky Disk. Now, this was discovered, in quotes, in 1999 in Nebra in Germany. And there's quite an interesting story behind it, because at first, everybody thought it might be a fake, because it had sort of mysteriously appeared on the antiquities market. However, the police investigated, because they were very suspicious about it, and they found out, yes, it was authentic, and 2 people had actually looted it from a site, much to the annoyance of all the proper archaeologists, because it was found with sort of like lots of bronze daggers. But obviously it's quite an interesting, sort of unique piece. But one of the interesting things about it is the gold that's used for the stars and the moon and the solar boat and everything was actually mined right here. And I do mean right here, pretty much from where I am stood. There's some really interesting scientific papers about how they analysed all the ratio of all the minerals in the gold and isotopes and things like that. And they're able to actually narrow it down to this very, very spot. And this is a place called Devon. Some of the gold, however, also comes from a place called Fiok, which is about 2 miles that way, just round the bend in the river. I was actually going to go over there and just shoot one line, sort of going, and the other bit of gold came from here, but it's like £2 to park, and I wasn't going to do that just for one line. But there's a lot of interesting legal shenanigans about the disc. I mean, first of all, there was those guys who found it. Now, it turned out it's an offence over there, like it is here, to actually, I mean, first of all, they were on somebody else's land, they were trespassing, and also they have a similar rule to what we have here about treasure trove and having to declare things. So they were convicted. They actually appealed their convictions, although the court put the sentences up. So they got like 8 months and 12 months, the 2 guys. But it's then became, in the area, ended up in a museum. And the local borough, something Saxony something, they started using it effectively as their logo. And they sued a town that also started using it, and some people who produced a book with a sketch of the disc. Because their argument was, well, all the IP rights in this belong to us. Now, obviously, the counter-argument was, Germany has similar copyright laws to us. And they said, well, no, because, this is a creation like this. It counts as a sculpture. So the copyright law over there was effectively 25 years from the death of the person who made it. And the argument was, this has now been pretty much accurately identified to be 3,600 years old. You can fairly assume that the person or persons who made it have snuffed it. So therefore the copyright is extinct. However, the local borough relied on, there's a particular thing in law when it comes to copyright, that if something is the first printed edition of a work that has only previously existed in manuscript, then that is the date the copyright runs from. So they said, okay, well, even if there's not the copyright in the disc itself, there's the copyright in the photographs of the disc. And they ran this rule, and it went through lots and lots of appeals. In the end, they came back and said, well, no, you can't copyright something that is that old. However, you can trademark it, because the thing with trademarks is you don't actually have to have the IP rights in the trademark. It's, because vast breweries use a red triangle, the oldest English trademark supposedly, and obviously there's no IP rights in red triangles. It's just whoever uses that symbol as their brand. And now that is the case. So until 2027, that is where the trademark exists, or possibly the copyright. But they could probably extend that. I mean, what they did in the end is they just registered it as an EU trademark. But they're very, the borough is very sort of keen on protecting their IP rights. And indeed, they tried to sue Wikipedia and said, take down, because they had about 6 or 7 images of the disc up. And they said, oh, take those down. Now, Wikipedia Germany did challenge that. And they were successful, but like I said, then they just registered it as an EU trademark. So it's probably fair to say that the copyright status at the moment is a little bit nebulous, but people seem to be quite happy just to hang on until 2027, because then it'll just be all up for grabs. But there you go. I just thought it was like quite an interesting thing, mainly because of the connection down here, because this is Restringot Creek, which is the River Carnan comes into it. I've done lots of shooting on the River Carnan. That's the one that's like really sort of contaminated with all the heavy metals from the mining days. But they actually used to mine here. There's like basically there's lots of little islands in this creek, and they're all artificial because they just put them there just so they could actually put mine works on top of them. And now some companies have actually been given licenses for lithium mining here, because apparently there's all sorts of interesting, expensive stuff in all the dirt around here. So yeah, not just the gold. They also used to mine uranium in Cornwall. But anyway, as always, hope you found that vaguely useful, vaguely interesting, vaguely accurate, vaguely informative. And I've just explained where I am, so I can just shut up now.